All right. Hey everyone, we're back. Another video, another week. How was everything, Matt?
Oh, it's been good. Had a pretty solid week. Staying busy over here, but it's all good stuff. What about you?
Yeah. Hey, same thing. Can't complain. September, getting close to the holidays and just waiting for that cooler weather to come in. Everything's just
Oh
gonna be
yeah.
right as rain. Right as rain, baby. So yeah, it's
I like
just
that.
it's
I,
just
I don't
counting
know
down
if
the
I've heard
days.
that.
Oh yeah. Everything's right when it's raining. Oh yeah.
That's
Oh
good.
yeah.
That's good.
Well, everybody, this video today, talking about we wanted to get a little bit into detachment from and what that means and what it means to us and how it's kind of helped us uh, progress and help us get through some things. I think it's a very another strong uh, stone in the foundation, if you will. It's something that needs to be explored uh, before you transcend into, something further to understanding this. And we wanted to bring this up today just to go through it, talk about it, and again, just see where it leads and see where it goes. And with that said, I'm gonna throw it to you, Matt. I know you've uh, just talking off camera. I had a possible situation, story, something that came up today, and I know you've some other stuff that you've been reading and going through some passages and stuff like that. So we're gonna kick it off and throw it to Matt and see where we go.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I was thinking about this subject of detachment because I had a situation that I ran into today where I actually didn't even notice it at first, which is probably a good thing. But when I was thinking about, what I might want to talk to you about tonight and things like that, it reminded me of what happened today. And I was like, okay, um, that was pretty interesting, because I was just trying to think of maybe that's what we do. We talk about our lives, stuff we've been through, just like what you talked about last video, and then that sparked, a story from me as well. That's what we want to try to do, in these videos is I guess make it a little bit more personal, because we could always go off on some topic, but the more we can make it relatable, I think the better off everyone will be, and even us, right? So, without further ado, what happened today was I actually took an exam for a certification that I'm trying to get, and I've taken these exams many times before. So this is just like another one that I'm going for. Kind of has to do with like work and stuff like that, right? I won't go into too much detail with that, but um, it's been years that I've gone in and taken these exams and gotten different certifications and stuff for what I do. And you know, I would say, really, honestly, looking back at it, every time that I've gone in and failed an exam, it has always hit me really hard. Because you work so hard, you study for so long, and obviously when you get a failure, you're disappointed. And there have been times where I'll fail an exam, and I would go back home and listen to some like I don't want to say like sad music, but kind of like actually angry music.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Punching your
like
pillow in the bedroom.
yeah, like listen to some metal or something like that, and just start drinking, you know,
Oh yeah.
and and just be
Putting
like,
holes in the sheetrock.
yeah, exactly, right, making decisions that you regret the next day,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, man, these things used to piss me off so much because I felt like a failure, and I felt stupid, and I was just so mad at myself every time I'd fail, and I knew I was going to go after it again. I always go for it again. I don't just quit like that. That's where you should really be mad at yourself, is if you just quit. So I never did that. I always go back and I eventually pass. Um, but still, the failures, they hurt and they piss me off. And, I'm just like, man, you don't know anything. You suck at what you do. All these just negative things, right? Well, so interestingly enough, I failed the exam today, the new one that I'm taking for a different certification I'm trying to get, and um, it was so interesting. And again, I didn't even notice it until I really thought about it. But I was completely unaffected by the failure. I mean, completely unaffected. Um, it was almost as if I don't. Again, I'm just coming up with some weird example. The first thing that comes to my mind, but it was almost like watching a bird just kind of fly through the air as you're just like walking down the street. Like you don't think anything of it. It's
Yeah.
just nature taking its course, you know. And that's
Mhm.
how it was today. I'm like, uh, yeah, I failed. I know what I need to work on, and I'll go back and I'll pass. I'll get it done. Uh, it may be the next time. That's what I'm aiming for. If it's not the next time, then it's gonna be the one after that. Whatever it takes, I'm gonna make it. But
Right.
but it was so weird because I didn't feel anything, and it wasn't that I was like empty or like a shell of a person or anything like that. It was just that I was unaffected by the outcome. Um, and again, I didn't even think about it. All I thought about was, hey, I'll do better next time, and I'll study some more. I know what I need to work on. Anyway, um, but then I thought about, again, kind of what we were going to talk about, and this came to my mind, and then it was, I don't know, it kind of dawned on me. I was like, wow, I actually did not get affected by that. Maybe something is working here, which is exciting. Um, but then I started thinking about, well, why did I get so affected by it before? And like what's changed? Is it because I'm meditating? Is it because we're having these talks, or I'm reading certain books? I mean, yeah, all of that probably contributes to it, but um, I think one big thing is the attachment. And before, I was really attached to getting the recognition from the certification. You know what I mean? Of like, hey, I know when I get this, people are going to think I'm really good at what I do. And, I'm going to post it on social media and I'm going to get all these likes. And then everyone at work is going to be like, oh, yeah, good job. That was great. I might even make a little money off of it. Who knows? Sometimes that happens. And so, it's like without me even really knowing it, in the back of my mind, I was attached to the outcome that I knew would be coming once I get the certification. Um, but probably because we're practicing and things like that, I don't know. It's like I'm not attached to the outcome at this point. Um, I and part of it could be I do feel like I've, I guess, proven myself in the past, so maybe I don't feel like I have to do that anymore. But I really do think that a lot of it has to do with what we've been talking about and like the meditation and all that. I just feel um, I do feel a sense of detachment from it, and I do feel like it's not. it doesn't affect me one way or the other. Like obviously I'm going for it because I want to continue to just grow in my role and stuff, but I'm not worried about what happens. You know, I just do what I do for the sake of knowing that, kind of like what we were talking about in that one video, like your dharma, right? Your duty. It's like, okay, this is what I do. Uh, it's my duty, and I'm not necessarily looking for a win or concerned about a loss. I'm just doing it, you know. So anyway, without talking any more about that, it was just it was kind of profound actually, the way that it didn't affect me at all, and I just
Mhm.
had never felt that way before in that situation.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, yeah, just hearing you talk, I know these things and how passionate you are about what you do, and and I know who you are. You know, I grew up with you, so like I know these certain things how they could affect you because I've heard you talk about it before, and so yeah, just hearing how you used to talk about it to how you talking about it now, you know, is like, whoa, man, this guy's going somewhere, you know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
too
man.
fun.
That's that's strong. That's strong. Uh I mean similar in my, you know, my ways. I know before a lot of times one thing that I can really easily, you know, come up with on this is me constantly again when it gets into image, me wanting to be viewed the way I wanted other people to view me. You know what I mean? But that necessarily wasn't me. So I was always constantly attached to, you know, okay, I need to do this, or you know, I need to look this way, or I need to say that, or I need to be at this place, and stuff like that. And in the meantime, you know, that's my mind, that's my ego, just shooting off. It's that's you know, it's everything's good for the ego and mind. They're just there's so much to work off for there. That it's plenty fed, you know, and it's gonna be feeding for a long time. And you know, I'm just I'm trying to you know, constantly just be somebody I'm not. And if I was out and about and something didn't go the way I thought it should go, maybe they weren't going to view me the way I wanted them to view me, and that would affect me tremendously. You know, I would go home and be like, oh, you know, or maybe I was trying to impress a girl or whatever the case may be, and you know, um, I'm coming back home, and as I'm talking to you right now, that's how I'm talking to myself out loud in my apartment, you know, having these same conversations with nobody, you know, and you know, it's just going around the, you know, my mind's just like, oh yeah, 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 you know, it's just it's loving it, right? I mean, no bounds, it's just running free, and you know, I'm just totally attached to just to this to this image that I yearn to be, you know, and yes, and it would just, you know, now looking back, I mean, it was just tearing me apart, you know, and a lot of anxieties and stuff like that. And maybe I wasn't having panic attacks at that time, you know, maybe this was before even all that. I mean, and but you know, all this stuff, you know, it all amounts and builds, and that's just one more thing that probably got me to that point was all this attachment that I had, you know, and 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 in reality, you know, it's the opposite, you know, there, you know, you shouldn't be attaching to anything, you know, it should just, again, like we say, just within. That's it. That's the refuge. You know, it's not out there. It's all in here. So, and now today, you know, you still having to keep that mind in check, you know, and I can feel it. I can, when I'm again, driving off to work, because that's something easy, right? We're all going, it's at least 4 or 5 days a week. You're going you're going to work or something like that. And you're going into the world's game, whether you like it or not. I got to go participate for 8 hours,
Right.
and let me see if I can keep my sanity. So, like, you going in there and, jump in the truck, riding to work, somebody cuts me off, and it's those things. And then I'm maybe fretting about, a contract that I'm going to try to get signed by a client, and all, a lot's riding on this, and I really need the income on, really need the profit on this, and it doesn't go through. If I don't get that thing signed, and I've been working my ASS off on it, and it don't come through, I'm the same way, bro. It will affect the hell out of me. Not one day, not two. I mean, it could be weeks. This could linger on until something else comes along, and then I get that contract. Then it kind of starts to subside. But I'm just, I had to attach myself to something else to finally detach from this over here. So it's just, it's just madness. Um, but in those instances, and through these talks, has has made me more aware. And I think it's because of these talks, and I think it's important for others, if you're not watching this, to talk to somebody like we've been saying in the other videos, because it's when you start to get deep into this and you start to explore these things on a weekly basis or whenever you talk to somebody, it's almost like uh, uh, it's almost like a practice. You're almost starting a practice. You're starting to conjure up these different types of thoughts, and starting to become more aware and more conscious without you even knowing it. You're just talking about it. But that's how it starts. It all is from a spark, right? So, and if you have enough sparks, maybe that spark gets a little bit bigger. Maybe you got a little bit of flame after a while, but it's just talking. I would say it's practice, right? So, uh, so I know I just branched off, but these conversations that we have, it's a reminder. And I said, oh, yeah, we were talking about this, and let me try this, and so I'll be in the truck or something, or something's like really bothering me, and I'm again talking like I'm talking to you right now, but I'm not talking to nobody. And I say, oh, hold up. And my first go-to would be to calm it down. Like complete silence is the key. But maybe I can't go from 100 to 0 real quick. So I'm gonna need to like kind of like come back down. So I put on some some music that's gonna kind of start to mellow me out. And I'll start to get it to that way, and then all of a sudden maybe then I can get to a point where my objective now is, after that music, now I'm gonna turn it off, and now I'm in complete silence, and now I'm trying to just slow the train even more and come to no thought. Now let me really dial it back. So and that's what well, that's a whole nother thing. I won't get into that, but anyways, yes, this is detachment, attachment, these things, very important. Yeah, and if you could get a hold on these things, it's again a very good stepping stone. So try these things. We're going to talk a little bit more as we get into this, but yes, I feel you on that, my brother.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, in talking about, we always bring up anxiety. I feel like because we've dealt with that a lot in the past. But speaking of that, I feel like attachment leads to anxiety. Um, I think it's one of the root causes of it, and the reason I say that is because it's kind of like what I was bringing up last time about emptiness, and about the no self, right? And like how, and again, I'm not saying this directed towards you in a negative way. I'm just kind of using you as an example, but because it's the same with me too. I'm in the same boat. But when you brought up, being anxious about different physical feelings that you're having, and you start to think about your health, and then your mind kind of goes to the worst possible outcome, and then you really get freaked out, and yeah, you just start thinking about all these different things.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I think the root of a lot of that is we still believe that we are separate, independent beings who have our own individual identity that, really is in no way connected to anyone or anything else. And we're afraid to lose that. We're really afraid to lose that. That's what you call ego death. I'm sure people have heard of that before. But this is something that if you're deep in meditation, or maybe if you, like take some psychedelics and go on a crazy trip or something like that, right? Like you can induce ego death, and it can actually be pretty frightening, because you feel like you're losing your sense of self, right? You're losing this thing that you have built up, over years of time. And again, going back to the image you were talking about, maybe you've built a certain image, and maybe at the beginning it wasn't really you, but you were trying to build an image for everyone else around you so you could maybe fit in or whatever. But now, after years of doing this, you've started to believe that that image is actually you. And when you begin to lose that image or that identity that you have built, again, this is all a fabrication. This isn't real. But when you begin to somehow lose that in some way or another, maybe you're kind of losing your grasp on it a little bit, you start to get anxious. You start to get afraid. You're like, oh no, this thing that I am, this thing that I've built my entire life upon, is starting to crumble right before my eyes. Now what do I do? So I think attachment and anxiety and slash fear are connected. I really do think they're connected. And one of the things that meditation helps us do is to see the oneness of reality and the oneness of awareness, if you will. And when you begin to see that, your sense of self as a separate, isolated being begins to dissolve. And you kind of get this sense of merging into this, I don't know what else to call it, into this oneness, right? Where you get a sense of it, of connectedness with all these things around you, whether it be other people, even it could be nature, things like that. And you begin here's an important one. You begin to let go. You begin to let go of all these different things that you've been holding on to so tightly, for years of time. So I think that right there, the letting go, the detaching, and the not being, again, attached to the outcome of how a certain situation will turn out, or even having desires for attaining something or getting some sort of recognition, whatever. As these things start to dissolve, you really, and I mean, you can feel it. I felt it today. You really start to feel free.
Mm.
I mean, just complete freedom. And with that freedom, the fear dissolves as well, and the bliss comes in. That's where you really start to get like that natural high. And it's not that you're really trying for that, right? Because that could be another thing, that another outcome that you're attached to, that in itself could be unhealthy as well. But I think it just naturally happens when you start doing these things. And it's just kind of like I guess it's just kind of like a bonus, right? If you will.
Yeah.
So at least that's been my experience.
Yeah. I mean, same here. Yeah, all mine getting to this point to where I'm at, and when when I do find that blissfulness, uh, it's great. I mean, it's heaven on earth. It's everything. It's something, again, like you said. I don't want to try to be addicted to it. 'Cause I don't want a form of an addiction, but like it's, again, like you said, I think it's just natural, of that's the ultimate, that bliss where you're, like we've stated before, kind of like a euphoric state. If you can get to the bliss and then to that euphoric state of, that's like the all present moment, everything is just grand and great. There is no pain, there is no sadness, there's no nothing there but just pure uh, you know, oneness and just joy, happy, feeling, again, just trying to trying to explain a euphoric state. Just that's what it is. Um, but yeah, just all these things, yeah, can get you, you start to master that, it will get you to that point. And talking about drugs or any kind of uh, something that'll, you know, make you feel a little bit better. Again, I mean, we've explained this before too. It's it's slowing the train down, and maybe you will maybe touch some bliss, and maybe a euphoric state, right? I haven't tried a bunch of stuff, but I know every time I did, I mean, it'd get me some point to that point. But this was before I knew about all this. And, to me, you know, yes, maybe you could touch it the way we could touch it, in a pureness kind of way, in a maybe in a certain sense, but you don't know how to stay there
Mm.
with it. And you're gonna regress and you come back, and now you're addicted to something to try to get back. Now, in that, I do believe that anybody, matter of fact, that's, you know, on drugs or alcoholic or whatever the case may be, it's not everybody's trying to feel good. You know what I mean? And they don't understand at that point, is just, you can do it, you can achieve that same feeling without all of it, and even in a better way. You can feel all of that in a pure kind of way. And it's not all just talk. I've felt it, and I've just felt the tip of the iceberg. I can only imagine me getting deeper into it.
Oh
But
yeah.
you know, people doing things, they get addicted to it because they get addicted to feeling good. And what's wrong in that? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying, hey, go out and get addicted to something, and drugs are good necessarily, but in the mindset or the being set of somebody inside that can't find home, and this thing makes them feel good. They don't know why, but it's calming them down. It's getting them to be in one just for a little bit. It's not in the right way necessarily, but it's bringing them, and that's what it is. The being comes out. Now it might be sedated and doesn't know what the hell's going on, but just in that, it's something that they chase. Just like me and Matt, or at least myself, I'm trying to chase this. I would say right now it's a chase. I felt it, and I want to explore it more, you know,
Yeah.
and I can see that being the same way on somebody that's got an addiction problem too. You know what I mean? So I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but um,
No,
again,
it's true.
you can you can achieve all those feelings and so much more. Uh, and I never would have thought it ever. There's no way, You telling me, I'm out here having a good time drinking and taking shots with all my friends and getting hype and listening to music and just going hard for 8 hours through the night, till the sun comes up. Yeah, you can replicate that by sitting over there in a chair, for a couple hours. Give me a break. I'm being serious. I am being dead serious. It is something that just you've never felt before. You cannot achieve this type of euphoric state on anything. Like you practice it, this stuff will come and you'll be forever. I hate to say the word hook and addicted to it, but but in a good type of way. I don't know the right verbiage to say, but yes, but and I'm again always glad while we're talking about all these subjects and stuff. But this one thing, detachment or attachment and detachment, is something so important to grasp and understand when you're making that journey.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. It is. You said it best. It's one of those cornerstones, if you will, of the foundation. That you kind of have to. Um, I don't want to say wrap your head around because that makes it seem like you're coming from the mind at that point, but something you just got to understand, right? If you want to kind of move forward with all this. And with that, as you know, I like to read books and I have one here, which is the Dhammapada. And this is a great translation by Eknath Easwaran. I might have said that a little bit off, but this guy is a really awesome guy, or he was. He's no longer with us on this earth, but um, he's got some, like he's translated Bhagavad Gita. He's got this. There's other books he's written just on his own. So somebody to check out. He's got some really good stuff. Um, but this, for anyone that doesn't know, it's just a book of sayings from the Buddha, and they're pretty interesting. But there was one in here that I was reading about the very topic we're discussing right now, which is attachment, detachment, and again how that kind of ties into fear, anxiety, things like that. So let me get to it again. Okay. I'll read a couple of these. They're just like real short sayings. And so this one is chapter 16. It's entitled Pleasure. And yeah, I thought there were some interesting things in this one. I guess I'll read a couple of them and then see what you think, because I've already kind of read it and thought about it for a minute. So maybe we'll get your live reaction to this.
Oh no. Oh no. Yeah.
So excuse me, get ready, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is verse 209. Don't run after pleasure and neglect the practice of meditation. If you forget the goal of life and get caught in the pleasures of the world, you will come to envy those who put meditation first. Now I'm going to skip down a couple. This is 211. Don't get selfishly attached to anything, for trying to hold on to it will bring you pain. When you have neither likes nor dislikes, you will be free. Selfish attachment brings suffering. Selfish attachment brings fear. Be detached and you will be free from suffering and fear. And then going down a little bit, a couple more. 215. Selfish desires give rise to anxiety. Selfish desires give rise to fear. Be unselfish and you will be free from anxiety and fear. And here's the last one I'll read. Cravings bring pain. Cravings bring fear. Don't yield to cravings and you will be free from pain and fear.
Yeah,
Pretty simple, but if you think about it, it's profound.
very much so. The best sayings I've ever read or something are the ones that are like so simple and not very long. The ones that can sum it up in just a sentence or maybe a few words, and those are like the most beautiful to me. Um, so yeah, no, the simplicity. Yeah, I I feel yeah, I hear that and understand it. You're getting into, the mind. The mind gets into it, and the further it can detach itself from oneness is the better it thrives. It wants to be its own thing. I'm not part of everything. And then that's where the further and further it goes, the further and further you start to get in trouble, right? And that's uh you're latching yourself on to all kinds of things, and it's just a crazy whirlwind. But getting into what the Buddha said in that, yeah, it's a lesson that you know I you know I had to learn. And it is something because of how just like we have to keep our mind in check. The world's always out there, and there's desires everywhere, right? Maybe uh, hey, my truck's fine, but next year, man, I don't know, so and so got a new truck, and hey, man, maybe I want a new truck.
All
There,
right.
hey, it's there it is, right there. That's plain. There it is, Josh. You know it. I really want that truck. you know, so like, uh, and then everybody else is getting new vehicles, and I'm still sitting there in the same one. And guess what? It's going to wear on me if I let it wear on me, right? So it's but that's something that again, every day we're participating in the world, and it's hard. If it's not on a daily basis, it's probably weekly. There's something that's going to grab your attention, or you want to be a part of, or everybody's doing this, or everybody's buying that, so I want to go get one, or I want to get one better. Keeping up with the Joneses, all that stuff, and it'll get you in trouble. And I know, at least here in the United States, that's a big problem of people trying to just keep up with everybody else, and all of a sudden you've maxed out your money. So now I'm maxing out my credit cards, right? And then after I max out my credit cards, I'm putting, I'm putting another mortgage on my home, and it's just, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But it's all to keep up with that image that I'm just like you, or I'm better than you. And it's all a facade, and it's these things of there, and it all it brings. Can you imagine, so if you're strapped, debt, which a lot of people are,
Oh yeah.
and you're going to bed at night, and can you imagine the anxieties, not knowing if I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills, come bill time, and I mean, I've been there. I've laid up late at night going, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to like ask somebody for some money, and and then, and that's, see, the mind's just going, yeah, it just packed its bag and it's heading to Honolulu. It's just on the beach, and it's just loving every bit of it while you're just over there just ticking, and it's just like, yeah, um, yeah, so that's what it wants, man. It wants you to make these decisions and yearn and desire. And but all it does in the end will bring you pain and suffering. And it may not even have to be something that financial, it could be something to where, again, an image, or what you're trying to be. And you
Or
know
maybe even a relationship.
or a relationship. Relationship, very good one. And uh things ain't going the right way, and the anxiety and the depression and all that stuff that comes with it, right? You laying up at night going, oh man, you know, what what's she doing? And she's not with me. Who is she with? Or she's hanging out with a friend. I mean, God, I've been there. you know, long time ago,
Actually,
just like, worrying and fretting about all that stuff. And it's just, and none of it even matters. It's like you said, yeah, things might be happening, but you yourself are fine. You're fine. You don't need any of that. You're fine. You're breathing, you're laying in bed, the fans blowing on you. There's nothing wrong. You could be on that beach right now. You can be in that euphoric state, as throw all that aside and you could be fine. So
yeah.
I know that was long-winded, but yeah, I think what I've gotten from those passages that you read is just, you know, you go out and you find refuge in other things, you attach yourself to other things. All it's going to do, you're just playing with fire, and you know what the outcome's going to bring, and you really have to reel it back in, and it all has to be in here, and practice that, and you're going to be right. You're going to be fine, and keep practicing it, and you're going to elevate, and then you're going to get so elevated you won't need it anymore. It'll be like when you start to eat clean and you can't go eat that burger anymore because it'll mess you up. It's that same thing. I'm gonna get so elevated that these desires and anything, like, I don't even want that. Like, man, it's gonna mess me up, and you gonna know it's gonna mess you up. So I ain't trying to be any of that. You you
Right.
you you
Get to
you're on
feel
a
it.
cleaner level now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you brought up the car thing, and then how I brought up the relationship thing, because it reminded me of something. A short story I'll tell. So years ago, long time ago now, I was at a party and I met a girl there, right? And I was like, okay, she's pretty cute. Like, I'm feeling it, and she was too. It was mutual, and so I could sense that it was mutual, so I could feel something's going on, and I was like, okay, I got excited. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be pretty cool. Let's see where this goes. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, the party was coming to an end, and there was it wasn't late. It might have been like 6 o'clock because this was like a day thing, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
so it was coming to an end, and I was kind of wondering, like, all right, is there gonna be a little bit more, after this, or
Yeah.
but I didn't say anything. But this girl, she was like, "Hey, well, what do you have going on after this?" And I was like, "Well, it's funny you ask. I don't have anything going on. I guess I guess I'm free to be with you. If that's what
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
to do." And man, I was just like all giddy and everything. And she's like, "Yeah, yeah, let's hang out more." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, awesome." So we go, her and I go in her friend's truck, and it's a guy, right? And he's got like this sick truck, right? It's just like, I don't know, I don't remember what it was, like what the model was or anything, but it was nice, right? And it was like lifted, and it had like a sound system in it, and all that stuff, right? All the bells and whistles. And she's like, isn't his truck so cool? And I was like, yeah, I mean, it is. This is really awesome. And so we drive over to this other place, and we're hanging out for a while, and eventually it gets to a point where they have to take me back to my car, which was where we were before. So I guess because there were a lot more people there before when we initially left to go hang out and go a couple other places, they didn't really notice like which car I drove, right? It was just like all these cars are there. And so when we get back though, obviously like my car's the only one there, right? And so we go back and everything was great, but it was so weird, man. The weirdest thing happened. Um, she wanted to like walk me to my car, because like I said, we had really hit it off and everything. So we pull back in, get out of the truck, and she's walking me over, and I could just this is the weird part. I could just feel something in the air kind of get heavier, and I could see her demeanor kind of like sink a little bit lower as we got closer to my car. And she
Yeah.
was like, she was like, "That's your car?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, oh
Like,
man.
yeah, just
Man.
dude, it was like the car totally turned her off, you know? And
Man, yeah.
and so we texted and talked like a little bit after that, like maybe a couple days after that, and then it faded away.
Mm,
And now I don't know if it was only the car, maybe she saw that and thought I didn't have enough money or whatever. But
right.
but but oh, and actually I'll tell you this, just to just add a little more twist to it, so you'll understand kind of even more why I felt the way I did. But the day that we really like stopped talking, I had invited her out to a concert that I knew was happening in the city, and she goes, "Oh no, I can't go. I'll be out of town with my boyfriend at that time."
Oh man.
So,
Ah,
dude, that because I really like felt something. When you feel something, right? But
yeah.
dude, that hit me, and I was like, all right, you know what I'm doing tonight? I'm gonna drink my ass off. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna lay into it. I'm gonna lay into it.
Yeah. I'm going straight to the spirit store. I'm gonna clear the shelf. We're gonna just see how far we go tonight. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I did, man. I sat in my garage, and I was just like the worst thing too. I was drinking a 40,
Yeah.
and I'm just sitting there listening to like
Britney Spears.
yeah, Britney Spears, who else?
Yeah. No, no. Yeah.
No, but you get it, like
Yeah.
sentimental, like because I was so affected by it. But two things that came out of that story, I feel like, and relating to what we're talking about. One was my own attachment, which was like, hey, I mean, yeah, you might have hit it off with this girl, but what, you knew her for like 48 hours and, you know, then it didn't go anywhere. Like, I mean, yeah, it's not the best outcome, but you'll be fine. There will be somebody else, right? So that's one part is like my own attachment, but the other part was her view and like her attachment. I don't know if it was to money or status or whatever, but like
Mm,
the way that she felt about my car. And it's like, well, what is that? Like who cares what somebody drives, right? Like
yeah.
we always talk about on these talks, like it's all about what's in here, and
Mm,
we really truly believe that. That's what makes a person is who they are on the inside. And yeah, so to be so shallow, I mean, I probably wouldn't want that in my life anyway, so it's probably a good thing it didn't work out. But you know there's a lot of different ways you can see it in a positive light. But I think the whole detachment thing, it would take away so much suffering that's caused, even in a little story like that,
yeah.
where like it life life doesn't have to be that difficult. It really doesn't, but I feel like we do it to ourselves a lot of the times.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and again, I think image is a huge part of that attachment. Um, you know, just getting into somebody like bodybuilding, right? And I'm gonna start taking steroids, right? And then I'm gonna get big. Well, then now everybody's gonna know me as this big dude. So now I gotta keep taking steroids. Maybe I don't even want to take steroids anymore, but everybody knows me as this guy, and I got to continue to do it now because that's my image. And if I stop doing it, then the people that came to know me of who I am, this big dude, like, oh yeah, JT's going, he's this big dude, man. If I lose all that, then oh, he's just some random dude, just like everybody else. Isn't it special about him? And then maybe those people go, but rightfully so, they got attached to something that, you know, and again, I'm not saying they're righteous. They're doing the same thing. They're attaching themselves and doing the same thing. But, you lost something, but it really wasn't you in the beginning. And if they weren't going to be your friends or hang out with you your normal way, then why need them? But it hurts, right? You
Right.
don't you don't want to lose that stuff. And yeah, you know, with me, before I even started to, learn all this stuff, I had I I had started to, when I was still dating around and stuff, getting in a just might as well just start talking about relationships. um,
Right.
you know, uh, we just went into relationship talk.
Here we go.
Um,
Here goes the rabbit hole.
yeah, here we
We're
go.
going.
Yeah. Let me get my box of tissues. But yeah, I started when I was younger. I had to have, because growing up, you know, all the kids, or the cool ones had like the name brand clothes and all this stuff. And, I didn't have, you know, my mom and dad, they weren't gonna splurge on silly stuff like that. They'd just be like, hey, you got what you got. Its purpose is serving you fine. You don't need that on your shirt. You don't need polo, whatever. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, exactly.
but when I started to get older and I could buy some things, that's what I would want to go get. I would want to go get the stuff that, because I felt like that's what the girls were attracted to, just, you had to look this certain way. Uh, and, um, I had gotten out of that because I started to notice that the things that I was trying to portray, yeah, maybe I would attract somebody that way. But then when they get to know me, even if I'm trying to portray this image, they're gonna eventually know me and know that like half of this stuff was bourgeois, right? And
Right.
so and then how are you supposed to hold on to a relationship, long term, if you weren't true to yourself, you weren't true inside outside, you know what I mean? And probably they ain't either, right? So
Yeah.
it just from the get, it doesn't look like, it's probably not going to work out long term. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
y'all both lying to each other, and but I started because I was just getting tired of just the same old same in relationships, that I was like, man, you know what? Screw all this. I'm just going in, and I went on where until I found my wife, we started dating. But up until then, it was just I was like white t-shirt. I didn't wear nothing but white t-shirt. I'm not portraying anything, just a white t-shirt and my jeans or whatever I'm wearing, my boots, and that's it. That every day the same. I even got to a point where I was like, man, I ain't even gonna I'll put deodorant on. I don't want to be stanky, but like, like I'll put deodorant on, but I'm not even gonna put. I went so far as like I'm not even put cologne on. Like I'm gonna let my pheromones come out. you're gonna be attracted to my pheromones. Like I ain't gonna put cologne on, you know what I mean? I ain't gonna fake my smell, you know what I mean? And I know about getting a little overboard, but yeah, man, I was that way, and it did. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing, but there was a thought behind it of like, no, I'm gonna be me of or at least who I thought I was, at that moment in time. But I'm not gonna portray anything. I'm just gonna. It's just me, and there's nothing flashy out here or anything. What it's gonna force somebody to do is just like you said, it's gonna get them to know me. You know,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna be attracted by some flashy watch or oh, that guy's got money. No, I don't look like I got anything. I'm just some regular Joe. And if we hit it off, I know that maybe it's a little bit more genuine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah, but yeah, but I've been in those situations. I can't conjure up an idea right now or a thought right now, but I know I've got some earlier of being in those same positions. I think at one time I was driving a like a beat up Taurus at one time, and I had a similar situation, and I had him like, "Oh yeah, just drop me off right here." Yeah, I like parked up there in the parking garage, it's just like the VIP section, but I was like totally BSing. I was like half a mile that way. I didn't want him to get anywhere near my car.
Right.
And I think the whole night I had been telling them, I was the son of an oil man, and just just really feeding it, man. You know. But
Anything you can
uh,
do, to
yeah, anything you can
just
win
cast your line
just to get it. Yeah, yeah. You saying whatever you can say.
and
Uh,
oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, I
but no,
mean
I
it's
get it.
when you're real, you attract real people. And I think that's part of what we're hoping to do, again, without becoming too attached to the outcome here, but what we're hoping to do with this channel is be real and attract real people, and that's why we always talk about, hey, if you got anything you want to say in the comments, or even if you just want to email us, right? Like, we're always open to that. And we're excited to hear from you because um, we do want it to be a community, and we do want more real people in our lives, and we want to be able to um, kind of, I guess, make this a thing, where let's break down the walls. And I'm not saying, people have to share their whole life story, but, um, you know, lower the facade, kind of break down the walls a little bit, and open up and be real. Just that's the type of people I want to be around, is just people who are real and who really are trying to, I guess, live the best life they can in the most, um, what would I say? Maybe the most genuine way. I don't know what else to say about it, right? But you know, I think we would attract people not only on the channel, but as we go around. And again, like we've been talking about, we're going to be going out different places. Um, we're also going to have other people come on. And these things, I know we keep talking about them, but we've been planning them out. We're all of this stuff is in the works, and you're going to start to see, uh, some different scenery, some other things going on in the videos, um, where we just want to add more people to it. Again, we want to spread this message to as many people as we can. And it's not really to say that our message is unique per se. Um, I think it's something that anybody would understand and accept. And I know there's other people out there, whether they be on YouTube or somewhere else, that are spreading a similar message. And that's great, because really, like we always say, we really are one. So, the more we can kind of, I guess, get to that singularity, the better. But I guess maybe we have a unique twist just in where we grew up, and the different things we faced, and how we were always taught, especially as boys and even men, to not open up and to not talk about these things, and to bottle it all up, and to maintain that image, of being a tough guy, or whatever the case may be, but our goal now, Josh and I, is to break all that down and just spread the love, spread the compassion, spread the truth, and you know, just grow, and get to that place where, again, not necessarily chasing after it, but that naturally blissful state of being where you just you can stay in that, and you don't need anything. You don't need anything at all, right? Um, and again, it is all within, so I guess one could argue, well, maybe you don't even really need to attract anyone. You could just be the island unto yourself, like we've talked about before. But here's the thing, and you brought this up multiple times, Josh, as we've talked, is, as you become that island unto yourself, as you become your own refuge, and as you find this deeper meaning within, whether you like it or not, you naturally will attract other people. They will see that. They will notice something coming off of you. They're going to feel that energy. And so that's going to get spread to other people, whether you're trying to do it or not. And they're going to see something in you, and they're going to be like, I don't know what that guy's got, but I want it.
Yeah.
And that's, and even to that point, and I know I'm kind of long-winded on this, but I thought that was so interesting in that very first verse that I read, if I can actually get back to it. Yeah, where he says, if you forget the goal of life and get caught in the pleasures of the world, you will come to envy those who put meditation first. So I feel like that's how it is. You see somebody that kind of has something special, and you're like, man, I want that. I don't have that. How do I get that? Right. So that'll happen. As you keep going down this path, people will notice, and that just gives you an opportunity to spread that love. So I don't know. That's, I guess, all I have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up my end on this, just to piggyback on what you were saying, and especially talking about, like, real men, and like how we were taught, and this is how you're supposed to be, and how you're supposed to grow up, and this is how you be a man. And I remember years back dating somebody, and she would ask me, she's like, well, what do you think a real man is?
Hmm.
And I don't know exactly what I said, but I was like, somebody that can, like, protect his family or something like that, and provide and put food on the table. Right. So that's what was embedded in my head, ever since. That's, as long as you're doing that, you're a real man. You're what you're supposed to be doing, you know. But there's so many things that are missing in that. That's a, obviously, yeah, you want to be able to, protect your family, right? I mean, yes. I mean, but so would the mother too, right? They'd do anything to protect their babies, right? And anything. But uh and then providing and putting food on the table. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah, as you being that family man or something like that, yes, you want to be able to do those things. But what about all the other things? What about all the things that are way more important, to being a, let's just say, real man? You get, you got kids, you ain't right up here, you know, your emotions are swinging and maybe you're drinking too much or you're doing this and doing that. I'm not saying that, you know, everything about you is wrong, but you do start to need to fix yourself to become even a better man, you know? And going about it this way will start to take you away from all this negative stuff. And like Matt said, then all of a sudden, maybe those fights that you're having with your spouse or whomever, or just the uneasiness you have or the unhappiness you have, you start to get a little bit more in tune, a little bit more to the singularity. You're going to start moving from the outer of that circle spinning so fast where everybody else dwells, and you're going to start moving inward. And as you're moving inward, that circle don't spin as fast, but everybody else is still going a million miles an hour. And you're going to slowly start floating into that center, that circle where you're not moving at all. And you're just watching the world just zoom, all these people just going crazy. And you're who you are still. 1,000-yard stare, if you will. And nothing's affecting you in this world. You're solid to the core. You're at one, you're at peace. What better man is that right there? Nothing can affect you. Nothing can affect you. You're all one. You're the best possible person of yourself. And that is what your kids are going to see. And that's what they want. And they're going to emulate that. Try to be a better person. Try to have less suffering. Remember, the little ones are looking up at you. And if you keep going down that path, think of all the pain that you had in your life, all the stuff, the addictions and everything. They're going to be coming right behind you because that's all they know. That's what they see. So be conscious of it. Try to be better. Fix in here. It ain't out there. You ain't got to beat up the next man. You ain't got to bow your chest out to show that I'm tougher than this. No, because your son or whomever, they're going to come up doing the same thing and they're going to feel the same pain. They're going to feel the same anxieties, the depressions. And that's what really made me think and stop when I had my son. It's just like, no, I ain't doing that because I do not want him to go down the same path I did, you know? And so it is my duty to make myself better so he can see a better path. And so is my obligation, my duty to move closer and closer to the center of that circle. So then I know now that is being the better person of myself or the best man. So to wrap it all up, that would be my message for today.
Yeah, that's a powerful message for sure. Well, yeah, I think that's about it for me, and that was awesome, man. That just caps it off like you always do. You find a way to just ring it in. But speaking of, like I said earlier, next video, we're probably going to be in a different setting. I'm not going to say what it is, but we will most likely, if things go as planned, I'm not gonna sit here and promise anything yet, right? We never know what can happen, but if things go as planned, we will most likely be in a different setting. So, it'll be a change of pace a little bit, get a little bit of a different feel, but in a good way, in a really good way, actually. So look forward to that. And you got anything else you want to say before we wrap this one up?
No, my brother, we're cool, easy, and again, like I always say, find silence, find peace, and we'll be at you again next week.
Awesome. Well, it's been a great talk as always, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll catch y'all next time.
All right.
All right, peace.